Welcome to the Greenhouse Podcast, the podcast dedicated to bringing you real, honest insights about building businesses from people who are doing it too. I'm Jackie, and every week I'm going to be sharing the best bits from our Greenhouse speakers, as well as talking to people just like you, small business owners, founders, entrepreneurs, freelancers, side hustlers, about the ideas and things that will help your business bloom. I'm really excited that in this episode, we're going to be speaking to Nancy Thomas. Nancy was one of our speakers at Greenhouse 2021, and she talks all about building a community for your business. Let's hear from Nancy.
Why do we need community? Well, first of all, let's think about what the anthropologists refer to as community. It's having shared location, common interests, and common ecology. As human beings, we're hardwired to feel comfortable and content within a network. And if we think about some really famous global brands, they've all got really great networks. So Harley-Davidson, for example, has something like 1,400 chapters globally. And these chapters, these groups of people, they meet together. They enjoy all things Harley-Davidson in a really visceral way, but they're also connected to the wider global community. There's a whole kind of separate life and vision to the brand. But community also brings us support. It brings us physical safety. If we think about how we lived pre-10,000 years ago, when we were still hunter-gatherer communities, we needed that support and that safety of living in groups. And we needed it for our psychological safety as well. But living in a community and being in a community gives us that ability to speak in a shorthand. We don't have to over-explain what we mean because the people that we're speaking to already know. So we have that comfort and security there as well. And of course, we can share knowledge. And that's one of the things that really sets us apart as human beings. Our ability to have that creative thinking, but to share our knowledge so that we can really push back the boundaries of what it is we're trying to create or understand. It also means that somebody within a community that perhaps we're going into can help us to maybe not make certain mistakes or do things in a particular way that's acceptable within the culture that we're in. I was working with an international company, and I'm a real stickler for being on time. I'm quite uptight about it. So I book meetings, I turn up on time, sometimes a little bit early. And I was working with a particular company, and my colleague pulled me aside and they said, "You've got to stop turning up on time, because the people that we're working with, culturally, don't respect that, and they don't appreciate that. So you're making us look bad." I struggled. I didn't turn up on time, but it was really, really good advice, and it helped me to integrate into that culture so that we could then build a relationship. So there are lots of models out there about what community is. But there's a few things that everyone can agree on, so I've put it into I like to make things simple, I don't like it too complicated, so I've got 4 blocks on my graph. And the basis for community is relationship, it's trust, and it's a sense of identity. And that's really the crux of what I want to get across today. It's our relationships, it's how we build trust. Trust isn't those big, grand gestures. Trust is made up of little, tiny, consistent gestures and actions that we do all the time. So that security thing again, that's a really important part of community. It's not just safety, but it's also economic security. That means we can have knowledge clusters. So we have access to resources more easily and skills. And it's also much more efficient for us. So places like Silicon Valley, for example, are clusters of the same kinds of business. And whilst we have a bit of competition, it also gives that security for growth and for shared knowledge. And there we are. shared knowledge. So why is shared knowledge so good? Well, we can develop next stage thinking. We can work together in partnership to solve the bigger picture problems and issues that we might be facing. And finally, it's not a typo, it does say common unity. It's a very clever play on words. So it's the shared values within a community that's really, really key. It's having shared goals and shared things that we're all trying to achieve that gives us that sense of purpose and then brings us back to this sense of identity again and helps us to build trust. So here we are. When we communicate, we're probably aware of these sort of stats, but only 35% of what we communicate is verbal. And even just a tiny bit of that is our words. It's all kind of pitch and tone. But most of it is body language and how we present ourselves. When we're having coffee with somebody, when we are meeting someone for the first time, and when we are trying to get to know someone, I find it useful to think about that conversation as a conversation with purpose. So really trying to plan out exactly what it is this conversation is, because it's not coffee, is it? It's a business meeting, and we want to get certain things out of it. So I wanted to show you the Johari window. This was created by Joe and Harry Johari. They did that in 1955, and what they were trying to do with this was understand really how feedback works, and we use it a lot in terms of team building and feedback within organizations. But I think it's a really useful way of trying to map out exactly what we want to get out of a conversation. I'll just show you here. In the arena, this is what I know, and also what my coffee partner knows. We all know it. So we know where we're going to meet, we know each other's names, probably checked each other out on LinkedIn, and we know how long the meeting is going to last. All good. Down here, in this hidden area, this is what I know, but what others don't know. So I can think about, what do I know that somebody else needs to know, like maybe how much time I can give to a company, or I can think about what I can offer, what skills I have, and what things might be useful to them, and when I could possibly give that time as well. They don't know that yet. In the unseen area, this is what I don't know, but my coffee partner knows. And this is about their company and what they need, what their challenges are, and what might be useful to them. And when we talk, we're able to make the arena, the known to all area, bigger. And that's really what we're trying to do. Now, there's this little one down here. This is the unknown one. Nobody knows what's in here. These are the surprises. And sometimes they're good surprises, and sometimes they're not so good surprises, but surprises nonetheless. So other things to consider then when we are going into that relationship building phase. We need to be self-aware. So if we've ever come across Daniel Goleman's book on emotional intelligence, his first pillar, if you like, is self-awareness and self-control and understanding our own emotions. So understand what it is you're presenting, what are you bringing with you. And the second thing is to be aware of others. This is a little bit about researching who you're going to be sitting with. You don't expect somebody not to have checked you out if you're having a conversation with them. Also, what's the bigger picture? What else is going on in Jersey or in the general environment in which you're working? And be prepared. So it's all about preparation. Time and again, in all kinds of areas of business, of life, it's about preparation. But it's also about being prepared for the unexpected as well.
Before we dive into Nancy's clip, I just want to talk a little bit about Real Creative. The Greenhouse podcast is sponsored by Real, and they're here to help brands stand out with video-first, scroll-stopping content. We're recording the Greenhouse podcast here in their amazing studio, and they're also going to be supporting us with all of our audio and video content for Greenhouse 2022. So if you need video first, scroll stopping content, then please go and check them out at keepitreal.co.uk. So I think the main takeaway for me from Nancy's clip there was that we often really underestimate the power of the network and the community in our businesses. I think when you're starting out, if you're building a small business or you're a startup founder, it's easy to feel like you're all on your own. And very often at the beginning, you are just you on your own. But the reality is, right, we've all heard it, people buy from people. And if you don't create a network of people around you that are going to support you when times are hard and celebrate you when things are going really well, then it's just going to make the whole journey a lot harder for you. The longer that I do this, the longer that I build businesses and work with small businesses, the more I realize that the biggest asset in our business is the people that we surround ourselves with. So I would love for you today, whether you're listening to this or watching it on YouTube, just spend a couple of minutes, have a little think about the people in your business or around your business that have maybe helped you get clients, or have introduced you to that amazing person who's opened a door for you, or who always shout about you and your business and cheer you on. The people that share your social media posts, the people that comment on everything. Yes, even if it's just your mum, I want you to go and say thank you, because building those relationships is going to help your business in the long term. And it's also just a really nice thing to do. So thanks so much for tuning in this week. I'm going to be back next week when we're going to be sharing more fantastic insights wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube as well if you want to watch on video. And I'd really love for you to be part of our Greenhouse community. So head to Greenhouse Jersey on Instagram to get involved. And also just a little cheeky request before we wrap up. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please don't forget to leave us a review. They really help. Thanks very much, and we'll see you soon.